Welcome, everybody. So happy to have you here on the very first episode of the Power Aging Women podcast. I'm Judy Seeger, your host, naturopath of 30 years, and now my 60s. And I'm thinking, you know what? I want to bring you guys along on this movement, on this journey in the best season of our lives in a healthy way with lots of power in all aspects. So I'm so happy that we're going to be here together and I get to share everything that I know in my years of doing this, both as a naturopath and personally, making sure that we are going into the next season of our life in a really awesome way. So, this very first episode, we're going to dive deep into why are women aging faster and no one is talking about it. They're like, oh, women live longer. Yeah, but is that necessarily a good thing if we're not feeling healthy? Let's get into it. So first things first is let's talk about that the gas pedal is on. We're going way too fast into this aging and having issues, not only just hormonally, but with our diseases and our immune system and all these different things that are happening to us as we're aging. And it's frustrating because, yes, we're living longer, but not at a quality place where we're feeling good every day. And then we start worrying about what's the next thing that's going to happen, all these different things, right? So let's go through some of the misconceptions first. We'll get into the science, we'll get into some background so that you understand and make the decisions that are right for you right here, right now. So first things first is that so many of the studies have been done for decades and actually even centuries on men. There was a great TEDx talk I heard a couple of years ago by Dr. Stacy Sims, one of the people I really admire and follow a lot because of her research and her clinical experience and her personal experience. And she did a TEDx talk. Take a look at it. I'll have the link below. Women are not small men. And she goes into, it's like, oh, yeah, back in the day, they figured out that women's brains were smaller. And so therefore, men thought that we weren't as smart, we couldn't handle things. And, then she goes on and talks about how women have not been studied, our hormones have not been studied, nothing has been studied. And even the mice and the rats and the labs were male and they're not even female. And that really woke me up. It's like, wow, it's only been in the last about maybe 20, 30 years that women are being slowly and surely studied and seeing what we really need. So that's an eye opener. It's like, wow, we have to catch up. And so there are a lot of women, I'll be referring to them a lot. Plus, I also have a circle of women experts that I'll get into as well because they are still in the clinics, they're in the research mode, they've got the science behind them. And I want you to make sure to understand it's like, hey, this is now proven. This is what we need, ladies. This is what we need to age in a healthy, strong way, right? So one of the things is that that's the real buzzword this year is the whole hormone issues. And they're starting to see many countries actually are stepping up, especially here in Europe, and that it's like, hey, the women are really struggling and they are affecting work and relationships are getting affected. And just to catch you up on this latest reveal in Cyprus is that in December of 2025 in Cyprus, this just happened, that Cyprus launched a comprehensive nationwide awareness campaign. They didn't make it into law yet, but the awareness campaign to dispel myths about menopause and to start creating a supportive environment. I'm like, yay. And they also said this campaign is going to have public talks and educational sessions. And I'm already seeing that across the island. That is definitely happening so that women could understand they're not going crazy and it's hormonal and we need to deal with it, right? So Cyprus is one country that's actually being very aggressive in making the changes. And other campaigns are happening throughout Europe. Europe is actually quite progressive, which is why I go to these conferences here all the time and actually get to be speaking at one in 2026. I'm super excited, where the longevity experts, men and women, are equally in the same room talking about what does it take as a collective to make us be aware of what it takes to be healthier as we age. We don't need to live to 150. That's not our goal, right? It's healthier. That's the whole thing. And that's what I'm going to focus on for just the women because the men have plenty of stuff out there, right? We don't need to go into a whole lot of detail about that. They have their information already. Women, not so much. And that's what this podcast is going to be all about. So I'm super excited. Okay, so next part is what is it going to mean to take that our foot on the gas pedal of aging too rapidly? What are we going to ease up? Well, first things first is we really need to talk about stress levels. Who doesn't have stress in their life, right? Who doesn't have issues where they're having a hard time dealing with whether it's family stress, work stress, physical stress, stress with, the dog barking too much, whatever it is, we all have stress, right? And then the experts, the men, have been saying, oh, you just need to work out more. And I go to the gym and it's like 80% men. When I travel around, I always join gyms and it's 80% men. And yeah, there's some young girls there, but I'm the oldest one there every single time, right? And it's pretty astounding to me that they think just stress. Well, for the men, for the testosterone, yes, it does help on many levels. But for women, I'm going to show you other ways that we could use exercise and movement, but it's certainly not just going to the gym. That's really not the issue and or the focus. The issue is that what the women are saying to the women the last few years is, oh, just, meditate and have your morning time and, do some deep breathing and all that. Listen, I tried all that. That did not do much. It worked for the time that I was there doing it. And then it was like, okay, peace out. I got things to do, especially with my clinic and being a single mother. Holy cow. And going to school, it was a lot. And, breathing techniques and walking and, just doing meditation was definitely not enough. So here's what does work, right? This is always, I'm going to show the science as much as I possibly can to you. And then I'm going to show you what actually is working based on clinical research, based not only my experience, but on the women who are still in the trenches, like Dr. Stacy Sims. There's many, but she's at the top of the mountaintop right now, leading the way, and it's awesome to watch her. So here's the first thing: is you got to shift your mindset. What do I mean by that? Is there's a woman I had on my I'm having again on my Women's Longevity Summit, Dr. Ellen Langer. If you've never heard of her, look her up. The woman is amazing. She said she's 70 something years old, and she caught my ear when she said, "Oh, I don't have stress anymore, ever." I'm like, "What? What? What did you just say?" She said, "No, I don't have stress. I just have the mindset that, whatever choice I make, it's a choice I make, and that's it." And I'm like, "What? How did she, what?" And so, of course, I interviewed her and we'll talk about her findings based again on research on thousands and thousands of people. It's pretty cool. But here's the thing. She said, and many of the researchers are saying the same thing. You have to first decide on two things. Two things. First is when you wake up in the morning, what do you need to do for yourself? What do you need to do for yourself? So typically we wake up, it's like, oh my God, today's laundry day, and I got to make sure that, the dog gets to the groomers and my partner does this and then work. Oh, I know I have to have this meeting, that meeting. You have your game plan for work, your family life, all that. But what do you have for you, right? So before you hop out of bed, if you could do this, Just think a moment. It's like, what do I need today? And that could be something like, hey, I think I'm going to have steamed vegetables today, or I'm going to go take 30 minutes and walk in the park today, or just for me, or I'm going to call my friend and gab for the next 15 minutes. Like whatever it is that you need, whether it's emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, it doesn't matter what you need to do today, right? The next one, the deeper question, because we always go a little bit deeper, is why? Why do you need to take time for yourself every day? Think about what is your why. So when I work with my clients over the years, I always ask them that question. And what do they say? Well, I want to be healthy and stronger so that I could be there for my kids, my grandkids, watch my kids walk down the aisle when they get married. It's always for other people. And I rarely heard them say, oh, because I want to be able to travel more. I want to be able to run a marathon. I want to, there, I don't hear those kind of very rarely. And I'm like, oh, that's sad. Let's change this. Okay. So this is part of the podcast too. Think about your why. Okay. So I start first. My why is I do not want to end up in a wheelchair. I did 2 years ago when I broke my knee. That was not fun. I did not like being in the wheelchair and being incapacitated for a few months. It was just a silly accident, fell down, broke my knee, whatever. I got over it. But being immobile, I'm thought the whole time I kept thinking, oh my God, I don't want to be in my 80s and 90s and be like this. This is not so. Ever since I've been on the road, when I wake up, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to do my stretching. I don't want to do that. But I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to end up in the wheelchair. Okay, let's go. We're going to the gym. We're going to stretch. Like, I do whatever I can on the daily. And that is much more powerful even than the what. The what will come. Like, what should I do today? It's like, oh, I'm going to set my timer and do some stretches throughout the day, 3 times today. I'm going to do 10 squats, whatever. But when you have the why, it's so much more powerful. That why is like, ooh, yeah, I don't want to end up with Alzheimer's. I don't want to have to worry about getting all arthritis. I don't want to be relying on other people to open up the jar of pickles. Like you start really diving deep into that, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a sticky note. Again, this is practical, right? You're going to take a sticky note and you're going to stick it on your partner's forehead. No, I'm just kidding. You're going to stick it on. I put the sticky on my forehead. No, no. You're going to put it on your mirror and your bedroom and your refrigerator and put your why. I don't want to be in a wheelchair. So today I'm going to do 10 squats. I'm going to practice getting up out of the chair 10 times. Whatever it is, we'll talk about things that you could do, but you're going to write it and you have to see it. You have to say it out loud. It's just the way our mind works, that all the researchers are saying the same thing. When you think it and you say it, then you see it around the house, it works. It just ends up that it starts getting into your whole system, right? Okay. So let's get into some more issues about our gas pedal going down with the aging for women, and let's release that gas pedal and slow the aging down. So the other issue is that our metabolism slows down a lot. We all know this about 80 and 90-year-olds. My mother's 90, she'll be 92, and her metabolism definitely slowed down like 10 years ago in her 80s for sure. And we expect that, but we don't expect it when we're in our 40s and 50s. It's like, why can't I eat that whole pizza and have a big thing of Coca-Cola and have French fries and sandwiches and be fine? Why? Why can't I enjoy all that anymore? Well, those days are done, my friends. Those days are over because your liver becomes much more sluggish as we get older. Your liver has about 500 functions. I think it has way more, but it does a lot of different things that you have to have it working at top-notch level as you age, and we don't take care of it. We just think, oh, I'm not going to drink as much. No, that's not it. You really got to do something else that's super important. So here's the practical is you have to eat more bitters. Why? Because the liver is working very hard on digesting fats and changing glycogen into fuels. We'll get into that. It does many different things. But bitters really helps your liver. It's like, whoa, I got something to help me to work better, right? And most of us don't eat bitters, right? What are bitters? Like your arugula, your mustard greens, there's even bitters formulas that you could get at the health food store. But what we say is, well, I don't eat that many sweets. And my mother always says that, my 90-year-old Hungarian mother, I don't eat any sweets. No, but she eats grapes and oranges all day long, which are like a candy bar. It's like having a chocolate candy bar, or having breads and pasta and rice. Many cultures eat a lot of rice and pasta. And those are like super, super high on the glycemic index and cause lots of problems. And the liver is not happy with that. It doesn't like all those carbs. It puts extra work on the liver, which makes you feel really tired, sluggish. You wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm like, I need like 3 cups of coffee just to get going, right? And it's really the liver. And you need to focus on that and understand that after 45, this is how I was taught as an enzyme therapist, where I learned which enzymes are needed for our body as we have different issues coming up, is that after 45, your stomach acids actually go down. Your stomach acids get weaker, and you have a harder time digesting your fats, your proteins, your carbohydrates, right? And the liver is all part of that. Your whole digestive system is part of that. And when you're having a hard time, then you get gas, bloating, belly fat. We'll be talking about that on the next episode, all about belly fat and what is really going on. And so your liver gets to be like, oh, I got to work extra hard, and it's not happy. And then you get these reactions, everything from constipation to gas, bloating, burps, heartburn, lots of different things start happening, and you start just reaching for the easy stuff. But I will tell you what actually works, and we're going to do a little show and tell, those of you who are watching the video. So I've got a really good vinegar that has the mother in it, meaning it's the fungus that helps to actually make the vinegar a little bit more stable, a little bit stronger. I mean, vinegar is vinegar, but I always like it from when it has the mother fungus in there. It's very cool. And the only time I ever have a shot glass is when I'm doing my vinegar. And after certain meals, if it sits heavy, here's your indicator. If it sits heavy and you're like, oh, I'm not digesting that very well, I don't feel good, then you just take start out with about half a cup, half a shot glass of raw apple cider vinegar. And then I like it's strong. It's like super strong, and you might not be used to it. So take a little water, do this without spilling it. Like you could add it like that to the shot glass. Again, super strong. Or you mix it in the glass of water, that's how I would start out with. Oh yeah. And just sip it. Just sip it slowly. Take your time, drink that down, and that will give your stomach acid a little bit more acid. It really needs more acid to digest the food. So the apple cider vinegar is one thing. Now the other one, this is super simple, is lemon. You could take a fresh lemon, not the concentrated, and you cut it in half, and you could put it in a liter or quart size container of water and drink that throughout the day. Do be careful with both the vinegar and the lemon, the enamel on your teeth. All my friends who are biological dentists say the same thing. They like, tell your people that lemon and vinegar will break down and corrode the enamel on your teeth. So use a straw and be careful with that, right? So that is going to be super important. The other one that nobody talks about, this is like one of my favorite things to share with you ladies, is your portion size, right? When you want to slow down the aging, what got my attention, there's a very famous longevity expert by the name of Dr. David Sinclair. Found him a couple of years ago because he's Hungarian and he was speaking in Hungary. And I was like, what? What is he talking? Well, who is this David Sinclair? And he was bringing up that he only had 2 meals a day. He's now down to 1 meal a day, which no, I like food too much. I like my breakfast, so no. So he talked about portion size and eating 2 meals a day. And I thought, okay, so let's make that practical for women. Because of our lifestyle, that's a little bit harder to do. We need more food for fuel. And so here's the thing. Men can eat. So I'm holding up a big dinner plate for those of you who are listening. And a big dinner plate, the men usually will fill that up to the max and they could eat that down because they usually have a faster metabolism and could handle a big portion, bigger plate of food. And especially at dinner time, they seem to do just fine. Not for women. What I have learned in my own self and what I'm hearing from the other researchers that are female and in their specialty is they're all saying the same thing. Do smaller portions, but do quality. So proteins, fats, carbohydrates. So that would be like your chicken, your fish, your meat, if you're vegan, your tofu, all the proteins in just this one little third section of the smaller plate. And then your vegetables, your greens, you could do your broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, any kind of green vegetables, and steamed slightly because it's easier to digest than a salad. And you could drizzle a little coconut oil or olive oil or avocado oil, just drizzle that on top, add a little seasoning. That's about it, right? And carbs, maybe you could have just a little bit, maybe just a little bit. I usually have like a rice cracker with some avocado on top of it. That's lovely. Just so smaller portions is the key on that, right? And that way that will help so that your body doesn't have quite so much to digest. Where did this 3 meal rule come from? Who started that? Oh yeah, the boys who had these big food corporations, maybe Kellogg's, I don't know, somebody like that. Oh, let's push 3 meals a day. That didn't happen for centuries. Like we didn't have 3 meals a day. And now we like think that's what we have to have. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I don't think we need that much. So pick your foods and we're going to go into a little bit about that as far as when and how and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the silent accelerators of aging. What are the ones that are kind of like on the quiet side, like you don't hear a lot of people talking about it. I'm not quite sure why, but because they're super, super important. And especially for women, it's really affecting us and is aging us faster. And I'm like, whoa, why is nobody talking about that? On my social media platforms, I was very active in talking about it. And I heard women say constantly over and over again, it's like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're talking about it because I don't know what to do. So let's get into it. So the silent accelerators of aging are your toxin exposure, your stress load, and your sleep debt, meaning your sleep debt of not getting enough. Okay. So let's get into the practical tips of all of these. So first off, let's talk about toxins. I'm the detox queen. So I did that for 30 years, mostly helping people after their cancer treatment of chemo and radiation. And then I went deep, deep, deep into understanding more about toxins and how it affects us. So let's talk about it for us as the average women, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. We're in that season of our life. We're like, whoa, let's slow this down. What do we do about the toxins? Well, the ones I'm specifically talking about makeup. You don't see me wearing makeup except for my natural lipstick. That's all I do. I don't wear makeup anymore. I don't do hair dye anymore. Not the easiest. We'll talk about that in another episode. It is not easy to go and be a gorgeous silver fox. That what I feel like now. It was not easy in the beginning. but me and Dr. V, a good friend of mine from Breast Cancer Conqueror, she went and did the silver fox look first because her cancer came back the second time. And she was like, okay, peace out. No more toxins on any level. And so, again, mind shift, right? Mind shift. Her goal was not to have her cancer back. My goal is I want to be mobile and have the ability to not be in a wheelchair. And if that means that it could affect my nervous system on any level, I'm not using any toxins that could harm my ability to be mobile. See the why. We're back to that why. Okay. So let's talk about the toxins that women typically use. Makeup, right? You could use natural makeups. For sure, there's many out there. They still have some chemicals in there. They all do, but there's many out there. The hair dye we mentioned, make a choice on that, ladies. Household cleansers, laundry detergent, deodorant, shampoo, hair products, air fresheners. My God, every time I walk in to visit my mother, she has that air freshener going. Ugh. All right, so what do we do practically? Okay, we can't to just say, oh yeah, we're going to just get rid of all of it. Yeah, no, it's pretty hard, right? So take one area at a time, right? So show and tell this place that I'm renting, I'm not going to show you the product name. That's not important. But this one had shea butter, but in the shower, shea butter, lotion, and then this one is a liquid hand soap. Look at the big bottles on these, right? And they had the shampoo and all three in one, two in one shampoo, right? So they had all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't do that. So what I do, especially traveling, I make sure that I have natural things. And I can't, of course, take all the liquids with me all the time. So I just use bar soaps. So you could use shampoo bar soap, conditioner bar soap for your body. It's super easy. Like, I only have this one. This is my shampoo one. And then I have one for my body, right? And that's it. And it's super easy. And it has a whole lot less chemicals in there. There's always some. Be careful. I had yet to find one that's completely pure. If you guys know of one, let me know. Okay, so take one thing like that, the shampoo, conditioner, soap, because that's the stuff that's going into our skin. Ladies, it goes even in your scalp or anywhere on your head, your face, your the sprays, the mousse, the oh my God, all the things we use for our hair. It looks lovely. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it looks lovely, but those all go into your skin, into your brain, and that I believe is part of the whole dementia, Alzheimer's process. That's my opinion, that all those toxins come in and make your hormones worse because the liver cannot filter it out fast enough. Yeah. So connect the dots. Okay. And so I would start one of the most important areas, like where do you start then? Okay. I use a stick deodorant that I carry with me. It's got a charcoal, activated charcoal and clay base along with other stuff. Now, a lot of you will ask me, what's the brand? What's the brand? Unless this company is paying me, I'm not promoting them. Boys, take a back seat. That's not going to happen. However, that said, in my reset program, which I'll tell you guys about that in a few minutes, I do get into brands just to help you guys out, or I teach you how to read the labels correctly, or we go through, and we also go through products that you have at home and you're not sure, and we go through all of that. But for right now, stick is usually better and use a natural one. There's many actually on the market, right? And the reason I think it's so important to start with deodorant is because underneath your arms, ladies, look up the anatomy of your lymph nodes in your body. You have lymph nodes from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And lymph nodes are very, very important to be like little storage tanks that protect your organs from all kinds of things, pathogens, toxins of every kind, right? So they're little storage tanks. And so typically, when I work with people who had breast cancer, the women would say, oh yeah, I had a surgery where they ripped out 10 lymph nodes, and usually under the arm or the chest area. And I'm like, oh, you needed those lymph nodes, but too late now, right? It's just what doctors do. That's their protocol for what they do. But I'm telling you, it's like if you want to keep your lymph nodes intact, okay, there's many things you could do for that. But one of the things is be careful of the deodorant that you're using for your daily use, right? There's so many people say, oh, I stink so bad. And yeah, I'm using men's deodorant now, which are even more toxic. It's crazy. So get a natural deodorant stick and that has clay or charcoal in there and use that instead. That's an easy place to start, right? Something super, super easy. Okay, so let's move on with stress load, right? So let's talk about, okay, these are the silent accelerators of aging and stress. I would spend hours in my clinic talking to clients about what do we do about the stress levels because now we're in a disease state. I usually work with people with cancer and autoimmune, and it was crazy how much stress they had in their life, whether it was financial, relational, working, family, whatever it was. There was just on a scale of 1 to 10, they would always say, oh, I'm like a 20. And then I started doing my group calls, and they would all say the same thing. Oh, my stress level is at a 10. Okay, think about your why again. And I'm going to keep coming back to that because it's super important. And then what are you going to do in the daily to bring that stress level from a 10 to a 9 and then an 8, right? Until you bring it down and you're leveled out at 5 at least, right? That's the goal. Can you cut it in half in the next couple of months, right? It takes a little bit of work. It's not the easiest thing, but it's necessary if you want to slow your aging process down so that you could be healthier and not worry about the things that are coming up. So here's the thing. The stress load is, again, thinking every day, what are you going to do for yourself, right? And what are you going to do to bring it down? So practical tips for me, even as I travel, I bring along my red light mask. I have a mask and I have one for my chest. In 30 minutes every day, I put it on, not for the wrinkles. It's like, whatever. I got wrinkles, I got spot, whatever. I don't care. It just relaxes my system and I know that it's helping to rebalance and help my mitochondria and my blood cells, and it's very relaxing. So 30 minutes, I do my red light therapy. If there's a sauna in the neighborhood, I'm off. I go to that sauna every single week, as many times as I can even, or I take a hot bath. And there's not baths everywhere, so that's another issue, right? But whatever it takes for you to say, okay, for 30 minutes, I'm going to focus on bringing my stress level from a 10 to a 9. Just that. Just start there. Okay, let's go on and talk about another silent accelerator of aging, which is sleep. How many hours do we really need according to the scientists and researchers? 7 hours. That's like bare minimum. And I thought that I was like at 6 hours for a couple of years in my early 60s. And I'm like, I can do 6 hours. I'm fine. I wake up, I'm ready to go. I'm good. But I was getting a little bit more irritable. I found I wasn't as patient. I was a little bit not moody, but I was just definitely irritable a little bit more. And I just 7 hours of sleep. I haven't had 7 hours. Anyway, I called up one of my friends, experts, Annika Carroll. She is Sleep Like a Boss. And I was just like, Annika, I definitely need some help. And we went through, which I'm going to share with you right here. And she's going to be on the podcast as a guest. So get ready, hold on to your socks. She goes into a lot of stuff about sleep and how we could get our sleep up to 7, 8 hours, sleep like a baby, wake up feeling refreshed. Okay, so one of the things that is super helpful, of course, is making your room completely dark, right? Blackout curtains and nothing in the room that blinks or red light on or smoke detectors, right? Which is really hard to do, right? TVs have something going on, which you shouldn't have that in your bedroom anyway, but there's an alarm, there's your phone, there's Wi-Fi, something is going on, right? So it's a good idea to remove all that, right? But in the meantime, eye mask, put an eye mask on that helps a lot. There's also now eye masks that have something that massages around your eyes and also eye masks that give a little bit of moisture, like a kind of like a compression. And I think, oh, like a compression with some moisture? Because I'm finding sometimes my eyes are dry, and I'm like, why is that? Who knows? But it is it, if anybody's used one of those, I just use a regular eye mask and put that on, and that helps a lot. Also, going to this bed same time every single night, right? So for me, it's 9 o'clock, and then I sleep 7, 8 hours. So I'm usually up out of bed about 5 in the morning. And everybody's like, what? 5 in the morning? Doesn't mean you pop right out of bed. When I'm awake, I lay there a little bit, think about, again, what do I want to do today? What do I need to do today? What is my self-care for today? And I always put that in there. It's like, oh, today's gym day. Again, I don't look forward to it, but I'm already putting it in my mind that that's going to be something I have to do today, right? So you lay there, relax, that kind of stuff. So going to bed, I experimented with this because Annika said go to bed at the same time every night. I'm like, okay. So I tested that, and some nights I was like, I'm not that tired, so I'm gonna finish watching this Netflix movie, and I would stay up till 10 o'clock. Oh, I felt the difference the next day. I was a little bit surprised, but even that whole hour. But if it's like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like let's say it's 9:15, it's okay. It's not a big deal. So stick to as much as you can, same time every night. So how do you do that? Is you start at 8 o'clock, right? You can't just pop into bed and say, okay, I'm going to be sleeping now. Who does that? I can't do that. But go at 8 o'clock and say, okay, this is my downtime. So you could be reading a book, you could listen to a book on audio. You can listen to music. Do something that gets you in that state of mind. Taking a bath, taking a warm shower, whatever it takes to get you in that state of mind. Like, okay, it is now proven by science that when you do that, your brain actually gets used to it and is ready to download what is it that the brain scientists, I'm going to have them on my on as guests, and they'll explain it better, way better than I can, that your brain, the chemicals actually shift to say, okay, I'm ready to rest, and I'm ready to rebuild and repair my body. Because at night, when you're sleeping, is when your body repairs and rebuilds itself. All the protein you had during the day and what you digested during the day is when you rebuild and digest the protein so that you wake up in the morning, no pain, no aches, you feel good, you're not sluggish because you've had that time, right? Okay, so same time, same bit every time, same time every night. And then the last tip on that is no food or drink 3 hours before bed. Now, all the scientists are saying the same thing, 3 hours before bed, right? So again, having a late night dinner, like pay attention to that, not having, now drinking some water, but maybe like an hour before not having, otherwise then what happens? You get up in the middle of the night to go pee and then you can't get back to sleep, right? So don't have any food and then the drink not an hour before. Now, for me personally, I have found, I experiment with this as well, 5 hours, right? So I'm going to bed at 9. So 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. So by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm not eating anything. Like I have nothing to eat, right? Now you can't always, that's me. Okay. I've been doing this for a long time. You might just be starting out, my friend, right? So for you, you'll be like, I can't do that. I'm used to having my dinner at night. Okay, fine. Have a light thing, like have a protein shake, have a handful of walnuts, have some nut butter on a rice cracker, right? Have something light. Have a vegetable soup with chicken in it, 3 hours before bed, right? Just something to get you through. And if you can't, and you have to have a few nuts, the nuts have clinically, what I've found is that having walnuts, especially, which is great for the brain, that and Brazil nuts are great, but the walnuts especially, I have found have been really filling, and just 5, 6 walnuts, that's it. Raw walnuts, raw. Don't have them roasted, don't have them salted, just raw walnuts can really help a lot. Okay. Now, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, let's wrap this section up by saying that the silent accelerators are really not that silent. You should know this one, but no smoking whatsoever, no vaping whatsoever, and absolutely no alcohol whatsoever. I know, I know you've heard about the red wine thing and these cultures that have their wine every day. Okay, fine. If you want to go that way, but the science is absolutely proving that not smoking, not vaping, and not having any alcohol whatsoever will slow down the aging and help your immune system be super strong as you get older. And alcohol is one that everybody fights me on, it seems. And I'm like, okay, you try it. Try going 30 days no alcohol, see how you feel, and then have it. Or just decide, you know what, I'm gonna have holidays, I'll have some alcohol, or when I go on vacation, and that's it. And then you start feeling the difference. You'll be like, I don't feel so good on that. I don't, you know what, this is not worth it. Then go do a mocktail and have there's alcohol-free beverages now that look just like a cocktail or a beer or whatever, and there's no alcohol. You could do so many different things. It's just not that important. I just want to make sure you know that. Okay, so let's go to the number one misconception that keeps women from reversing their age-related diseases, right? And that is that there is this misconception, oh, you know what? If I just take my all these supplements that I've heard that help and change my diet, then I'll be fine. I'll reverse everything and I'll feel better. Okay, let's wake up and smell the coffee. And let me just tell you that it is absolutely not true. If you go from being a vegan to a carnivore, for example, oh, I've been a vegan and I just wasn't feeling good and I decided to eat more meat. Now I feel great. It's not enough because it's only one aspect of the many other things that needs to be done in your lifestyle. They're not hard things to do. The change a little bit might be hard in the beginning. They're not hard, but they're habits that need to be done throughout the day. And it's just like brushing your teeth and taking a shower and washing the dishes and paying the bills. You just know that you have to do it, right? Sometime throughout the day or throughout the week. And it's the same thing with these, right? But when you think, oh, I'm just going to do this one thing and change my diet, it's important, but it's not everything. And the other one that, oh, let's get into it, ladies, is, oh, I'm just going to take all these supplements. I heard this one is good for this, and this one is good for this, and this one is good, and this will keep me from having anything, and this one will revert. I cannot begin to tell you how many people I work with, especially with third and fourth stage cancer, where they would say, oh, I've heard these mushrooms, the lion's mane and chaga mushrooms will help my cancer. I'm like, my brain just absolutely busts out and just like, how can you think that one supplement will help heal cancer or autoimmune or any disease? Like, what are you thinking here? Like, this is like a bad thing for our industry, pushing these supplements, which is a multi-trillion dollar industry now. And it's crazy. I was just in London at I do a lot of longevity conferences now in Europe because, like I say, they're about 10 years ahead of the United States in their research and science because they share a lot between countries and scientists. They're very, very open about their findings. So it's very cool. And I went to London to one of the bigger health conferences this last year, and I was going to see, like for me, like, okay, how many of the British people are buying into the supplements, right? And I went to every vendor who were selling supplements, and then I watched. And in the 2-day conference, I couldn't believe the amount of people that came looking for supplements to help them with their health issues. I'm like, no, no, the Brits were the last ones to hold out. They would always say, vitamins, who's going to take that? Blah, blah. They would always put it down, but they were flocking. Every workshop was filled with standing room only. every vendor had three deep of the people. There was thousands of people that came from all over Europe, but mostly the British. And I was sad because I knew a lot of the health gurus that were there. There was about 80% men who were the speakers pushing their supplements. And I know them. I know them personally. I've been on stage with a lot of them. And I just said, why are you pushing these things on women when you don't even know what we need? Well, because they asked me and I'm helping. And I'm like, no, you're not. Pass the baton to the women specialists who really do know what it takes because we are in the trenches. Well, but they're asking me. I'm like, pass the baton. That's all I said and walk away. Yeah. It is what it is. That's the industry. But you need to be aware that supplements are now being pushed in Europe as well, and it's going to keep going. It's just a massive movement because we all want the quick fix, right? And there is no quick fix. It can help you. And I want to talk about the five that you need, but it is not the one and only answer, and neither is the food. And you need to hear that. And I'm going to say that over and over again. Five supplements is all you need. Okay, so before we get into the supplements, which I know you all want to hear about, let's get into the foods. What foods are the most important for women as we're aging? That has been proven by science to help us the most. Is it keto, paleo, carnivore, vegan? Which one? And yeah, shout out me here. Leave a comment below. Let me know. And it could be anything. It could be whatever you want it to be. There's a lot of my associates are into keto because of the science is proving it's definitely helping with dementia and Alzheimer's. But here's the thing that very few are talking about, and that is it's not just the type of food. I think you have to pick the food choices, whether it's keto, paleo, vegan, Mediterranean, doesn't matter, that resonates with you right here, right now, in this time of your life, right? But here's the second part of that is you have to make sure that you could digest it. If it's just sitting there, like if it's the most organic vegetables, and I've been here in Portugal. I went to a detox center where it was the most beautiful fruits and vegetables and beautifully presented, and oh my God, it was such a treat to have it, but I couldn't digest it. Oh, my stomach was hurting after that. I was struggling breaking it down. There's just way too much fiber that I was not used to having that harsh of fiber. And I had to tell them, I said, listen, you need to juice that for me or something, So it was really hard. So it's what you digest, because remember, as you get older, it's harder to digest your foods because your stomach acids get weaker. Your metabolism slows down. Now, and the other thing is, so digestion, right? So you're going to pick your foods that you want and then make sure that you can digest it. You could also take digestive enzymes. It's a little bit more expensive route versus the apple cider vinegar, lemon, or eating smaller portions, right? So you could do that as well. But here's more important is when you eat is absolutely the most important. So I am not a fan of intermittent fasting. I know there's quite a few specialists out there who just absolutely are diehard intermittent fasters. So I went deep into that with the scientists and the clinicians, and of course tried it myself. I couldn't do it for sure. Because I love my early morning breakfast. Because remember, I'm waking up at 5 a.m., so I'm hungry. And so what I noticed is that the men were doing much, much better. So the men were talking to the men, and then they were talking to the women, right? It seeped over. And then the women were talking to the women about it. And I'm like, yeah, let me just see how this is really working. And come to find out, because I read all the comments and then I go to these conferences and I talk to the people, and I found out that women don't do as well on intermittent fasting in the long run. In the long run. So you need to choose your window. And there's a term for it now where, it's more like intuitive eating and finding your window, right? So here's the one aspect. We go into this much more into my reset program. But for now, I want you to know this. is eating the high protein breakfast within 2 hours is one of the best. So I earlier talked about, don't eat 3 hours before you go to bed. That's one. And then the other part is when you do wake up, have protein. So no oatmeal, ladies. No, no, no oatmeal. And then some of you will say, oh, but I add protein powder to my oatmeal. Great. Have it later. Have it, if you're going to do that, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. But when you first wake up, if you're waking up, let's say 6 o'clock in the morning, within those 2 hours, have a protein. So have your eggs and tofu if you're into that, right? Have your meats, have, those high concentrated proteins because that will raise your cortisol levels and then you start functioning way, way better in the morning when you need it the most, right? Because remember, all night your body was sleeping and working on using the protein to repair and rebuild your body. This is basic 101 science. So when you wake up, you are now depleted. You need more protein. And if you wait, like for intermittent fasting, where you don't eat till 10, 11, 12, but you've already been working for 3, 4, 5 hours, that's hard on your system. That actually is really hard on your system as a woman, right? So understand that the protein in the morning, and again, if you're vegan, you could have, your nuts, your nut butter, you could have coconut, all that kind of stuff. But just do make sure that you're having that protein breakfast. Okay, so let's get into the supplements. I know everybody's always curious about that. I do not go into brands again, only in the reset program where I might recommend specific brands that I know that actually are really high quality. I'm very, very picky about supplements because back 30 years ago, when I was approached to use supplements in my clinic, I would go to the manufacturer and I just said, show me what's in them. Don't just give me the formula. Show me how are you making them? Like that's how picky I was. And I looked and oh my goodness, I only talk about this in the reset program because it could, yeah, it's pretty scary what's actually happening in manufacturing these supplements. But I remember asking them, I said, why are you putting magnesium stearate and silica and titanium dioxide in these supplements? And they were like, well, we need to have it so that it holds together in a capsule and in a tablet. And I'm like, listen, I'll take it in a powder and don't use those things. And they were like, well, then our machines gum up. Bro, get get more natural. And anyway, so yeah, there's lots of things I learned back in the day. Now, of course, they wouldn't let us tour through those manufacturing places, and how they actually make them now would surprise you as well. Well, long story short, is supplements are not very pure. There's lots and lots of fillers and additives to it. So be careful, read your labels. So the 5 supplements that you need are one, for your immune system, right? Again, I'm not going to go into specifics here. That's in my reset program, but here, just get a vitamin C with bioflavonoids. That works very well, or whatever you feel for your immune system is the best. Number 2 is your vitamin D and K. Vitamin D, of course, is hormone, and K is your blood clotting. That's a nice combination, vitamin D and K. Number 3 is your magnesium for your muscles, especially your heart, which is the most important muscle in your whole body. And so it's super important that you have some kind of magnesium. Again, we're not going to go into the details about it because there's just a lot to unwrap there. Next one is either probiotics or enzymes, something for your digestive system, something for your gut. There's many, many different kinds of probiotics out there, many different kinds of enzymes, but you need to look at something for your gut health on the daily. And then the 5th one is your omegas. Now, omega-3, 6, 9, that could be through your olive oil, your fish. And I eat a lot of that. And I recently got tested and they were like, you need to have more omega-3, 6, 9. And I'm like, okay. And I could definitely feel the difference because again, I'm 68 and that makes a difference, especially in brain health, super important. So brain health, your omegas are super important. So those are the 5. Okay, so let's wrap this all up. and talk about what really works. And let's go through what we're going to be talking about in these podcasts. Let's talk about what we're going to be getting into with the pillars that I am finding consistently works for women, women only, right? So what's the first thing is shift your mindset, right? Shift your mindset first into making sure you have your why on the daily. Okay. Then choose the area to work on. So, number one is movement, right? So, the two areas of movement that the scientists are now proving, the women, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, especially, she's the one who first opened my eyes about, oh my God, you need interval training. I'm like, I am not going to go to a HIIT class, high intensity interval training. I'm not, no, I'm not going to do that. She says, "No, you don't have to do that." It's like she's talking to me. She's not. I just talked to her on YouTube, and she said, "So do something where you're raising your heart rate for 10 minutes." Good grief, I couldn't do it for 2 minutes when I first started. That was hard. So you're doing running in place or jumping jacks or whatever. Holy cow, that was hard. But the reason is because you need to keep the circulation going. You need to keep your blood flowing up into your brain. So interval training and strength training of some kind. Now, Nadia Piatka is going to be one of our guests, and she at 76. Wow, she's an inspiration. She's very toned. She's a gorgeous woman, and both inside and out. She's just a lovely person. And she just says, listen, even if you do 2, 3 times a week, I'm like, I could go with that. I 2, 3 times a week, do something for my arms, do something for my leg. Okay, I could do that. It's doable, right? It doesn't have to be crazy, but just something doable that will help get that oxygen into your organs so that you could slow that aging process down. So movement is number one. Number two, what actually works is the sleep. We talked about that quite a bit. 7 hours is the minimum, and all the other things we mentioned. Number three is you have to make sure that whatever food choice you choose, that you could digest it. That's super important. And of course, when you eat, all right. Number four is your hormones. Now, I am not a hormone expert. I will teach you guys the basics, but we're going to have Dr. Annika Becca, Dr. Felice Gersh. We got some really cool hormonal experts who are going to deep dive into that. But just let's put it on the tab on our checklist, that what is it you actually need for your hormones? What you could work on? We touched on it today with the liver, right? Making sure that you have bitter foods on the daily for your liver. Number five is your brain and heart health. And we talked a lot about that with the omegas and making sure that you're getting oxygen to your brain. And then number six, we're talking about skin health. So wrinkles and brown spots and and crepey skin, cellulite, that's going to happen, right? But what you eat affects you. And dry skin brushing is really helpful to get the skin going. We're going to go into that. We have a couple of health experts. We're going to go into that as well. But here's the thing with skin, it's what's happening on the inside that's coming out on outside. And listen, I was in the Florida sun as a kid, with the copper tone oil and burning all the time because I would come down to Florida to visit my dad and be out in the sun all day after I was in the city. And man, I would burn. And, in my late 50s, sure enough, those brown spots came out, the wrinkles, the dry, crepey skin. It's gotten much, much better because I've reversed it, slow but sure. But yeah, you pay the price, right? So we're going to talk about what really does work. And then the last part, number seven, is your mindset and your motivation. Focus on that why on the daily. So just to wrap up, we're going to be diving deep into this in my reset program. The actual name is the Power Aging Immune Reset. Power Aging Immune Reset, because that's what we're going to get into, where you're saying, you know what, all these things she said, that's me. And I don't know what the heck to do. Well, I'm going to guide you guys step by step. It's going to be an 8-week program. And we're going to get into all the nitty-gritty details of what actually works for you. So these are going to be group times on Zoom, and we're going to get into all the things that we talked about in this episode and then some. And it's not based on, men's studies. It's not based on, oh, what supplements do you need? No, no, no. It's what do you need right here, right now, with the right information that works for us as women, right? Because this is exactly what I'm doing now for myself as a 68-year-old. And I could say, looking at you guys and talking to you guys. I have no pain, no arthritis. I did just get checked recently. I did a special program and they checked me. They said, "Listen, you don't have nothing going on, and your blood is fine." They did urine sample, all that. Everything was just fine. And I want that for you guys. I don't want you to be sitting there worried about all these different things that can happen. You can have this. So we'll get into all of that. We'll have the link below as soon as we have the doors open, but you can get on the waiting list for now and be ready because it's coming in a month or so, and you'll get all the information of what you need. So I'm so happy you guys were here. I'm so happy that we were able to connect here. Let me know what else you want to hear about. Well, let me know what is your number one concern, because this is obviously for you. I'm going to lay the foundation, right? Those 7 things that I just mentioned, the pillars of healthy aging. But what area do you feel like you need the most help with? Let's get into that. And then we'll make this community happen together. So spread the word, tell everybody else that you know that are female, that your friends, your coworkers, your family, and because I can't do this by myself. Yes, I'll be on social media, but I can't do this by myself. I need your help. And that means just tell people, say, hey, let's listen to this episode. Let's see what she's all about. See if this resonates, right? And then together we'll build our community and help each other. Okay. All right. We'll catch you on the next episode.